You're Hank, aren't you? You're the delivery man. But this is not a FedEx package.
There's a little girl that's very sick,
And you're delivering
her a new liver. If she doesn't get this today, she's not gonna make it.
Let me ask you a question. How much does one of those go for in the black market?
There's something inherently gripping about a race against time. But when that race is measured not in miles alone, but in heartbeats, in the fragile space between life and death, the tension becomes almost unbearable. That is the pulse at the core of Runner, a high-stakes action thriller that transforms a simple delivery into a relentless, emotionally charged odyssey. Set against the vast and unforgiving landscapes of Queensland, Australia, the film follows a man whose past has already tested his limits, only to push him into a mission where failure is not an option and survival itself is far from guaranteed. At the center of it all is Hank Malone, portrayed by Alan Ritchson, a former soldier whose life has been shaped by discipline, violence, and a quiet, lingering sense of purpose that refuses to fade even after the battlefield is behind him. Hank is not a hero in the conventional sense, not someone seeking redemption or glory, but rather a man who has learned to operate in the margins of society, navigating the high-risk world of elite courier services, where the cargo is often as dangerous as the journey itself. His reputation precedes him, built on precision, reliability, and an almost mechanical ability to complete the impossible. Yet beneath that hardened exterior lies something more human, something that becomes impossible to ignore when he is handed a mission unlike any other. A liver, carefully preserved and racing against the clock, must be transported across hundreds of miles in just 3 hours to save a 7-year-old girl whose life hangs by a thread. It's a task that demands not just speed, but absolute commitment, because every second lost is a step closer to tragedy. The premise itself is deceptively simple, but Scott Waugh, known for his kinetic storytelling and visceral action sensibilities, crafts the narrative with an intensity that never allows the audience to breathe. Drawing on his experience from adrenaline-fueled projects like Expendables, Waugh brings a grounded realism to the chaos, ensuring that every chase, every confrontation, and every split-second decision feels immediate and consequential. The Australian setting becomes more than just a backdrop. It transforms into a character of its own, with sprawling highways, dense terrain, and unpredictable elements that amplify the stakes at every turn. The sheer scale of the environment contrasts sharply with the ticking clock, creating a constant tension between distance and urgency that defines the film's rhythm. As Hank embarks on this mission, he is not entirely alone. Owen Wilson steps into the role of Ben Bishop, a character whose presence adds an unexpected dynamic to the story. Known primarily for his charm and wit, Owen Wilson brings a layered performance that balances levity with gravitas, offering moments of human connection amidst the relentless tension. Ben is not just a supporting figure. He becomes a crucial part of Hank's journey, whether as an ally, a guide, or something more complicated depending on how the story unfolds. Their interactions provide brief but meaningful pauses in the chaos, grounding the narrative in emotion without ever slowing its momentum. But no story like this is complete without a formidable antagonist, and that role is embodied by Rodrigo Santoro as Damien Zaldivar. Rodrigo Santoro brings a calculated menace to the character, portraying a man whose motives are rooted in the ruthless economics of the black market organ trade. For Damien, the liver Hank carries is not a symbol of hope, but a commodity of immense value, one that he is willing to obtain at any cost. His presence introduces a layer of danger that transforms the mission from a race against time into a deadly game of cat and mouse. Every move Hank makes is shadowed by the looming threat of interception, turning even the most routine moments into potential ambushes. Layla George's portrayal of Kate adds another dimension to the narrative, offering a perspective that connects the high-octane action to the emotional core of the story. Layla George brings a quiet intensity to the role, grounding the film in the human stakes that drive the entire mission. Through her, the audience is reminded of what is truly at risk, not just the success of a mission, but the life of a child whose future depends on Hank's ability to defy the odds. This emotional anchor ensures that the film never becomes just an action spectacle. It remains deeply personal, even at its most explosive. The production of Runner reflects a commitment to authenticity and scale, with principal photography taking place across Australia and wrapping in May 2025. The choice of location is not incidental, it's integral to the film's identity. Queensland's diverse landscapes provide a natural canvas for the story's unfolding drama, from sun-scorched roads that stretch endlessly into the horizon to more treacherous environments that challenge both man and machine. The decision to shoot on location rather than relying heavily on artificial sets adds a tactile quality to the film, immersing the audience in the journey in a way that feels immediate and real. Distributed by Angel Studios, the film carries with it a sense of purpose that aligns with the studio's growing reputation for delivering stories that resonate on both an emotional and visceral level. There's an underlying theme of sacrifice woven into the narrative, one that speaks to the broader human experience while remaining firmly rooted in the specifics of Hank's journey. It's not just about completing a mission, it's about confronting the cost of that mission, the choices that define a person, and the lengths one is willing to go to save another life. As the clock ticks down, Runner builds its tension not just through action, but through the psychological strain placed on its characters. Hank is constantly forced to make impossible decisions, weighing risks that could mean the difference between success and catastrophic failure. Every obstacle he encounters is not just a physical challenge, but a test of his resolve, his instincts, and his ability to remain focused under pressure. The film excels in capturing this internal struggle, using it to elevate the narrative beyond a simple chase into something far more compelling. The interplay between technology and human capability also plays a significant role in the story. In a mission where precision timing is everything, even the smallest delay can have devastating consequences. Communication becomes a lifeline, with every update, every piece of information carrying immense weight. Yet despite the reliance on systems and logistics, it ultimately comes down to Hank's ability to adapt, to think on his feet, and to push himself beyond his limits. This tension between control and chaos is a recurring theme, one that keeps the audience engaged from start to finish. There's also an undercurrent of moral complexity that runs throughout the film. The black market organ trade is not presented as a distant or abstract threat, but as a stark reality driven by desperation, greed, and systemic failure. Damien Zaldivar is not a caricature of evil, but a representation of a world where human life can be reduced to numbers in transactions. This nuance adds depth to the conflict, making it more than just a battle between good and evil. It becomes a confrontation between opposing worldviews, each shaped by their own logic and justification. Visually, the film is poised to deliver a cinematic experience that emphasizes movement and scale. The sense of speed is not just conveyed through fast-paced editing, but through the environment itself, with wide shots that highlight the distance Hank must cover and close, intense sequences that bring the danger right to the forefront. The contrast between these perspectives creates a dynamic visual language that mirrors the story's emotional highs and lows. It's a style that keeps the audience constantly engaged, never allowing them to settle into a predictable rhythm. At its core, Runner is a story about urgency, but it's also a story about connection. Despite the relentless pace, there are moments where time seems to slow, where the characters are given just enough space to reveal their humanity. These moments are crucial, providing a counterbalance to the action and ensuring that the stakes remain clear and personal. Without them, the film would risk becoming a purely mechanical exercise in tension, but with them, it achieves something far more resonant. The relationship between Hank and Ben evolves as the story progresses, shifting in ways that reflect the pressures they face. Trust becomes a central theme, tested repeatedly as circumstances grow more dire. Their dynamic is not static. It changes with each new challenge, revealing different facets of their personalities and their motivations. This evolution adds another layer of intrigue to the narrative, keeping the audience invested not just in the outcome of the mission, but in the journey of the characters themselves. As the final moments approach and the clock edges closer to zero, the film reaches a crescendo that is both inevitable and unpredictable. Every element that has been carefully built throughout the story converges, creating a climax that is as emotionally impactful as it is thrilling. The question is no longer just whether Hank can complete the mission, but what it will cost him to do so. It's a culmination that reflects the film's central themes, bringing them into sharp focus in a way that lingers long after the credits roll. Runner ultimately stands as a testament to the power of storytelling that combines action with emotional depth. It's a film that understands the importance of stakes, not just in terms of spectacle, but in terms of human consequence. By grounding its high-concept premise in relatable emotions and complex characters, it achieves a balance that is often difficult to maintain in the genre. The result is a narrative that is as engaging intellectually as it is viscerally, offering an experience that resonates on multiple levels. In a landscape where action films often prioritize scale over substance, Runner distinguishes itself by refusing to choose between the two. It delivers both, weaving them together into a cohesive and compelling whole. The journey of Hank Malone is not just about reaching a destination, but about what is revealed along the way, about the choices that define a person and the impact those choices have on others. It's a story that captures the essence of what it means to fight against time, not just for survival, but for something far more meaningful.